October 2nd, 2013. Guys, if you've been to the earthquake report page at the USGS today, they're throwing up a tag that says government furlough due to the lapse in federal funding. The USGS Earthquake Hazards Program has suspended most of its operations. The accuracy or timeliness of some earthquake information products, as well as the availability or functionality of some web pages, could be affected by a reduced level of operation. Also, the Voyager 2 crew tweeted in, it says, due to government shutdown, we will not be posting or responding from this account. Farewell, humans. Sort it out for yourselves. Now, guys, this is some crazy times, and of all the times that we've had warnings, this is there's a lot of heads up. It says 18,000 employees, 90% of NASA's workforce was furloughed yesterday. Now, they did say to protect the life and crew as well as the assets themselves, we could continue to support, or would continue to support, the International Space Station. It says, we will closely monitor the impact of an extended shutdown to determine if the crew transportation or cargo resupply services need to be handled. Other than NASA spacecraft, the rover, New Horizons going towards Pluto, will be left to their own devices. Here, NASA tweet, due to the government shutdown, all public NASA activities are canceled or postponed until further notice. And we know the Space Fence radar system has gone silent. Went down September 1st. They were going to cut it off October 1st. They didn't wait. Now, the Region 3 thing, we're all aware of this, but there's some things here. You know, they were broke, right? You can't even go see the Statue of Liberty, even though those federal parks and stuff and the national parks make money. One of the few things in government that make money, they shut those down too. But here, 2,800 MRAPs, those cost $600,000 a piece. Those are those armored vehicles for the Department of Homeland Security. You know, that's $1,680,000,000 for just that, and then you've got $13 million in MREs. 14.2 in million in the Region 3 alone. 386 UN troops trained. They don't put the cost down there, in 11 million in antibiotics. Then in November, with all of that in place, they're set up to do a power grid nationwide drill. Now, on the side, it says they will not be shutting off any power. There's going to be setting up scenarios. Here, I hope they just have their tracking off, because if everyone's watching ISUN, and that's the pink square, and if the tracking, and most of the tracking on this is pretty accurate as far as the satellites and the planets, ISUN will have to do a great arcing curve to wrap around the sun, because it's headed directly into the path of Earth's orbit, which is in the yellow dot. Now, again, I've never seen a comet on this chart. That's unusual in itself. But that's the direction that ISUN is heading, so that will have to be a pretty sharp curve. And we're watching that, and again on the 11th, we're going to have some solar wind pressure. That density that we're going to catch tonight is going to be striking Mars on the 10th and the 11th. Also in November, Fukushima, Unit number 4, they're going to attempt to move the spent fuel rods out, and the protective lining around the fuel rods is corroded away. If they touch, it says it will be 1,600 times greater than the reaction at Chernobyl. That for thousands of years, the Earth will pay the consequences if they cannot get these out of there without them touching each other. And that building's tore up. They don't have their computer control machines in place like you see in this photo on the right, guys. Also, in the Gulf, heads up for all of my friends here in the Southeast, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Florida. 70% chance of this system becoming a tropical system, guys, a storm. They're calling it a cyclone. That means a tropical storm or a hurricane. Now, that's saying it's going to move into the northern Gulf. Tropical Storm Jerry is going to move north. I don't think it's going to mess with the U.S. at all. It's going to get into cooler waters in the Atlantic and head north. But the storm in the Gulf, this is a radar, they're saying watch it in the northern Gulf of Mexico, and we already have the rain pattern setting up there, as you see, guys. We haven't had anything come in this year. I thought this whole season was going to be gone without a storm coming in, and right here at the end, we may not be quite so lucky as we thought. It's a big storm, and you can see the rotation has started. That's one of the things we're going to keep a sharp eye on later tonight and in the morning, is this one storm. Now, also, China is about to get hit, and there's a low pressure that's really strange the way it's setting right there in Fukushima, guys, and pounding them with rain, and that's everything's crumbling around them, and it's just sitting there. But in the bottom, this is the one that's going to go into China. It's a strong storm, and right there, let me zoom this up, is a low pressure that is a tropical low. That it was a tropical storm at first, and it raking the upper coast of Japan, right where the Fukushima prefecture is, and the nuclear power plants. So there's a lot going on. Now this is the K index, and we've had those two solar flares. This is out of Boulder, Colorado. This is where we get the information seen, and you see today how that intense heat and the intense X-rays that we were getting here on the surface. Now tonight we're watching for the effects of the Sunday night coronal mass ejection from that filament eruption. Now again, this time will start anytime, I would say anytime after 6 p.m. Eastern time up until midnight, because they give you on the charts a plus or minus 7 hours arrival time, and most of the times I have seen it at the minus, in other words, the later number. But let's just watch that. That's a steep increase in the plasma density. Now, although we've had that energy hitting the Earth for the last 2 days, like I said, you saw the GOS X-ray flux out of Boulder. That plasma density has not reached, but it's getting that time. Heads up.